Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience, from vision to execution.
Thank you for IMS, Marketing Success, our podcast. Welcome. What's your name?
Oh, I'm David Weck. I'm best known for inventing the BOSU ball. That's the blue half ball that you see at almost every gym. I did that 26 years ago and have been blessed to be an inventor entrepreneur ever since. I invented it in 1999.
Amazing. That's great. Well, tell us about your education background. And I understand education doesn't just come from school. Tell us about your experiences as to how you came up with this product.
Right. So basically, my strategy in academic accomplishment was to cover my butt so I could get a good job. But I was smart enough to not have to work very hard to accomplish that. So I went to Williams College, which is a very prestigious academic institute, graduated with honors so that I could work on Wall Street, for example. I approached graduation, then I looked at that life of just trying to make money, getting on a train, going back. I was like, no, thanks. And so I dove into acting right after, talk about a tough row to hoe where you're not going to probably make much money for quite a while. And so I did that, and I was a personal trainer to fund my acting career. Spent 7 years very intensely in it. I injured my back and had chronic pain for a year. And in the solving that issue is when I discovered the idea for cut the ball in half and make a BOSU ball. And so what that did was I worked very hard for several years, the grind where you're staying up 3 days when necessary kind of, intensity. And what it did when I licensed the BOSU ball to a larger company, and I was effectively purchasing my time. So I get a royalty. I don't get, the lion's share, but it's more than enough. And I get to study. I went to Chinese medical school. I've gone to China and studied. I've hired like the best to get as smart and capable of providing new and valuable information. Because one of my fundamental marketing strategies is I want to get as much organic placement and awareness as I possibly can. And now with today's social media and stuff, it's a very cluttered space. There's a lot of noise, but there's also a tremendous amount of opportunity. So my focus is always first and foremost on the value. That's the golden goose that's laying the eggs. We never compromise the integrity of we are providing solutions that are God's honest, better than what exists right now. And if you never betray the trust, you build a customer base who knows who you are and they trust you, and that gives you the on-ramp for the next innovation. So that's it. And so it's hard knocks plus conventional academic education, liberal arts. I majored in political economy, of all things.
Well, that's great. But the need actually created this invention, the need to solve your back problems.
That's exactly right. They say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, very good. Can you share a marketing campaign that really worked for you, and that you a challenge that you had, and how did you solve it?
Let me see. In terms of selecting, I'll give you an example just off the top of the head. We create, like with the BOSU ball, since it's been in the marketplace for 25 years, it's not new. And it's such a simple concept that it's difficult to make it better. It's sort of like, well, how do you make a wheel better than a wheel? Because it's so basic. So what we did one year was we came up with a campaign called Build Your Own BOSU Ball. And so what we did was we printed or had, a certain amount in inventory, but the capacity to print more for what color do you want the dome? You can get pink, you can get purple, you can get red, you can get blue, you can get, whatever, black. You can get a whole bunch of colors. What color do you want the clamp? Oh, I want a pink on pink. Oh, I want a, orange on purple or whatever it was. And so it's sort of like if you go to Dick's Sporting Good and you look at the Yeti coolers, right? Yeti is a brand that's taken off. It is a rainbow in there. And when I talk to friends and other people about their buying habits, I'm like, how many Yeti products do you have? Versus like, I got like 18 of them. Every time my wife goes to the store, oh, there's a lavender one. I like it. Well, the white one has a dent on it. So now I have a lavender. Oh, I like the orange. So that was a way to rejuvenate an interest and then customizability to spur more sales in the moment right now. So, and it's
Customization. So customization of the product.
yes, yes. And it was sort of a fun and interesting way to put the BOSU ball into the marketplace with that customizability. So the person felt special. If I already have a blue one that everybody else has, maybe I can bless.
Yeah. Bless you.
Woo! Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was an effective marketing campaign. Build your own BOSU ball.
All right. So in the process of marketing that, and you, I know that you have created other products. What marketing mistakes have you made, and what did you learn from those issues that you encountered?
Well, I'll give you an example. I invented a product after the BOSU ball that was an eye-hand coordination device. I actually have one handy right here. So it has two foam balls with an elastic cord, and it enables you to sort of like send it out and snap it back, and it's eye-hand coordination. You can do different rotational patterns. But the challenge with this is there's a learning curve. In today's world, if Duncan had launched his yo-yo in 2020, he would have failed. And that is a product that has sold billions because back when it was popular, you're competing with jacks and cards and hopscotch, right?
Yes.
You didn't have PlayStation, which is engineered to carry you along and hit those dopamine. So, and it never ends, right? So I believed in the product, but the marketplace wasn't, cooperating with my belief. And I think that that's the fundamental, too skilled. So people couldn't onboard the activity quickly enough for today's culture. And I bought, 2,500 units from my manufacturer, and it just took forever to go through the units. So I never reordered. And ironically, as my success grows now and the awareness grows now, that will give me the opportunity to have such a powerful story following trust and awareness that we can now coax the marketplace to be like, hey, let's get back to some basics here. What about the body, right? And here's an easier way to onboard it, right? So those are the kind of things where you really have to pay attention to what the marketplace is telling you. They say fail fast, fail forward, because if it takes you a long time to fail, well, now you're bone dry. But if
Yeah.
you make a mistake, you're going to make mistakes.
Yes.
Don't cry over spilled milk and make the best decision right now. Good money after bad money isn't necessarily a good thing. And so it takes a lot of honesty, and you have your beliefs, but the marketplace is ultimately who's going to determine who is correct in the game of commerce.
100%. All right, Dave, that was very interesting, and I'm glad now you have a product that you can push, now that you become a leader in other products. So that's great. How do you approach storytelling in your brand communications?
Well, the storytelling is essentially and this isn't a typical answer, right? So my storytelling, I'm in a unique position to have been peripheral to the industry in the sense that I did not need to ever make money on an hourly basis. So I was free to explore with a lot of leeway. If I'm the strength coach for the New York Giants, I can't come in scratching my head saying, hey guys, I got a theory. If it works, fantastic. But if it doesn't, well, we're all in trouble. So I was able to do that kind of research. And what I discovered was, just from a common sense standpoint, the peer review exercise science, who makes the rules of what's correct and what's incorrect, they got walking biomechanics wrong. They teach you fundamentally how to walk, jog, run, sprint without balance, is their theory. because what they said is the spine has to be rigid and neutral because the core of the body just transfers power. And so they instruct people to run like straight like this. And if you watch any decent runner, it's this coiling action of the head to land over that foot and over that foot. And because walking is ubiquitous and you're going to do it anyway, you're going to aggregate millions, tens of millions of steps over the course of a decade, for example. So one step slightly out of balance, completely insignificant, makes no difference. Let's say you have 99% balance. All right, well, good enough, right? You still get to the fridge and answer the door for DoorDash, right? But 20 million of those steps, now you're sweeping the porch and your back goes out from practically nothing, and you don't know how to fix it because it's been ingrained in your body for so long. Your doctor gives you pills or sends you to some massage or whatever, and it eventually gets better, but you've never been optimized. And I came up with the solution and the simple cue and the exercise progressions where you can habituate perfect balance, right? And what that gives you is that gives you a confidence that you cannot buy and you can't fake. You know presence, you know that that authority to resonate and communicate with other people, which is the most important thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
We are communal creatures. So my underlying objective was to expose the fraud in the science that is making the correct incorrect at the fundamental level and shift the paradigm with me being the recognized source of the shift. And now they're playing on my board because if you don't do my basics, I am the fundamental 10 fingers that gives everybody else the capacity to fulfill their potential. But if you don't use my 10 fingers, I discovered it first, well, then you can't be your best anymore. So now I force by bending and manipulating the marketplace itself and put myself as foundation because I never wanted to be on top of anyone. I want to be underneath everyone. Because if you try to be on top, it's a bunch of fighting and bickering and all this nonsense. But if you can provide genuine value to everyone, well, now again, your customer base increases and the trust increases. And I'm getting into footwear where the real money is. And I don't borrow money. So I have to do it organically. It means I have to go a lot slower than I'd like. But the survival, that's taken care of. We will not die.
Yeah.
And that means that we survive to thrive.
That's a great story, Dave. I love it. But I'm curious. So you made a statement that I'm very curious about. Your statement was everybody was running wrongly because
they were being instructed to run wrong.
They were instructed to run in the wrong way. How did you come up with your method? I mean, what prompted you? What kind of focus do you have? What kind of how did the light bulb come on?
So what happened was when I invented the BOSU ball, my level of knowledge and expertise was not even a fraction of what it is now through the process of putting fundamental principles into practice. So my knowledge comes from a deep internal understanding that coincides with the objective measure of flight. I can time with 100% scientific accuracy the time it takes to run from point A to point B. So if I can get you there faster, I have made progress that we cannot deny. Okay. And just the fundamentals of biomechanical efficiency have to be the starting point, because if there's inefficiency, then the strength that you have will bleed out or cause restriction somewhere else with the weak links. And so I figured it out to make people fundamentally faster. And I've helped Tyson Gay, like some of the world record runners, I have helped them with their technique. So having that objective reality on my side, that if you do it your way, bring him over to me and he'll get faster, guarantee it. And that's what happens because I teach the truth. And it's you're met with a tremendous amount of resistance when you're the outlier who's saying, hey, the whole thing is wrong. Because their best strategy, I think their best strategy would be come clean, admit it, and then adjust, because you already got a big audience who trusts you. So don't betray the trust. Just admit we were a little bit off and now we're going to get right. But that doesn't tend to happen. So it's a willful ignorance that it just ignore it. Okay, it doesn't exist. But because I'm developing a critical mass through marketing, and it's the cool kids in the class, I have guys who can squat 800 pounds who are testifying on the internet that David Weck's training helped me squat 861 pounds easier than I squatted 810 pounds. Right.
Wow.
So that credibility and the foresight, when I invented the BOSU ball, I said to myself, I will be the world's foremost authority on the subject of locomotion in the world. And by attenuating it down to the specific objective that I'm going to be the best expert on balance as it relates to gait, walking, running, sprinting, because think about walking. It is the function that bridges every other function we do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's of breathing and walking. You're going to do both of them anyway, and you can train them to do them perfectly, just like every other animal on planet Earth that isn't so smart to have the capacity to be so stupid.
Wow. Amazing. David, how do your personal values show up in your marketing to serve your customers?
It's just integrity. I have to believe in it 100%. I recommend it to my family. I can recommend it to friends. I can recommend it to customers. I will never, ever take the shortcut to, short-term, success that would compromise the enduring long-term success. And when I started my company, I was a neophyte in terms of business. Okay. I wasn't even familiar with the concept that one would start a business engineered to sell that business in 5 years. So for me, it was just like, oh, I've invented this. This is my company. I'm going to do this. And that's as far as it went. I wasn't like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get this to here and get that to there, and I'll exit with a golden parachute. That's 150 million. If you look at Peloton, the only person who made money is the CEO. Everybody else lost. Whoever's holding the bag in the last round gets the loss.
Yeah. All right. David, how do you stay grounded when the situation is overwhelming? Whether it's business or life, where do you get your strength?
Yeah, well, I actually go back to physical movement practice, because that's the accountability. You can think something and then change your mind. So you can't trust a mental thought to be the root unless you go as far as the spiritual and you develop your relationship with creation, because that's ultimately going to contextualize everything that you do. But the simple thing is 10 push-ups is 10 push-ups. 9 push-ups is not 10 push-ups. I want to do 10. And if I say I can do 10 and I can't do 10, well, now I have the internal conflict of having to pretend and perpetuate, a falsehood, right? So I know with 100% certainty by my own physical prowess in fight, flight, response ability. Fight and flight are what keep us alive. And they're on guard all the time. Right now, our nervous system is doing this complex medley and dance just to keep us up here.
Yep.
Right. And that's underneath everything we do. So when the stress is becoming overwhelming, if I can resonate such that my body is taking gravity, effectively catching that gravity, sending the gravity, receiving the gravity, all with coherence, my lower brain and my upper brain, the nervous system becomes confident when you have that flow of energy, right? It's all heaven, earth, and in between is humankind. And that goes back to the Asian philosophy that anatomy is vertical and hands to heaven. Western anatomy is the table's only this long, the body is dead, so we have to put the arms down at the side because the table doesn't do that. And we're going to study it dead where we don't have the context. So you have to go to the Eastern philosophy to understand like the living balance and the energetic balance. And I find that it's not something that I just resort to in crisis. It's something that is cultivated and practiced to become the new normal so that when crisis does hit, I have the route that I can tap into immediately. I'm not trying to go find it, when the time is tough. You need to prepare for the storm, right? And you have to, if the big hurricane's coming, you got to batten down the hatches and survive the storm, because when the sun is shining, that's the time when you're going to make all that progress. And you just have to stay alive in the meantime, is how I look at it.
Yeah, that's great analogy. All right, so David, you are a wise man. You have a lot of experience today. But if you could go back in time and talk to yourself when you just graduated, and you were happy and younger and had a lot of energy, what would you tell yourself?
That is a phenomenal question. I would tell myself the key to perfectly balanced locomotion that I understand now, I would have told myself from the very beginning, that is the foundation. And if you want to get to everyone, become the most valuable source of the most fundamental information and contextualize everything within that promise, that we are the physical foundation for fundamental physical education. If you don't do it the way that I have defined it, discovered it, distilled it, and delivering it, well, then you're off. Or your path is more convoluted, it's much more complex. If you know the simple truth, well, then 2 + 2 is 4. And I don't have to break out a calculator to get the wrong answer.
Right. Okay, wonderful answer. What would you tell any marketing professional starting their career today?
I would say that it is a marathon that is filled with sprints. So you can't burn the candle at both ends and the middle as you're starting out, which is what your tendency will be, because you'll make up for your lack of experience and knowledge with hard work. So you have to be prepared to work super hard, but to understand the pacing, that there will be times to sprint. Here's a real quick story. When I was still in the BOSU ball prototype phase, where the base was made from wood, not coming out of a machine, Fitness Magazine called me up and said, "Hey, we're doing a shoot in the Bahamas, and if you can get a BOSU ball here by Tuesday, well, then we'll bring it to the Bahamas and it'll be in the magazine." So I stayed up for 2 days straight, turning a wooden base onto the dome so it looked just like the plastic one. And that took fine-tuned sanding and getting the paint just right. And I literally double parked on, or like illegally parked with the hazards on Madison Avenue as I run in the building like 15 minutes before their party is leaving for the Bahamas. I make the delivery, I get the BOSU ball in Fit Magazine or Fitness Magazine. And that's an example of sprint. The bus is leaving at noon, and if I get there at 12:01, I'm sitting and going nowhere. But if I get there at 11:59, well, then I can sit down and the bus is moving. I'm making progress better than I could make any other way for that moment. And that was contingent upon winning that sprint. But now you got to create systems and do things that, you can't, cook the whole soup up, that fast as the scale grows. So now it's about getting systems and being efficient with your time. That's another thing. There's certain things that'll just be a sinkhole for time. And again, that's all systems. Like if an email comes in with a certain question, there should be something set up to field that question that involves zero human capital to make that transaction of information. So that's what I would tell the entrepreneurs, is that be prepared to run a marathon with a bunch of sprints in it, but don't sprint the whole way.
Right. David, this has been an awesome podcast, and thank you very much for being part of it. Look forward to getting to know you better in the future. But for now, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Any opportunity to speak to entrepreneurs and people and the insight marketing success, your questions were fantastic. And I hope this information is exceptionally valuable to all the people listening.
Wonderful.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.